بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم حميم عين سين قاف كذلك يوحي إليك وإلى الذين من قبلك الله العزيز الحكيم.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We'll continue with Surah Ash-Shura inshallah and verse number 40. We have three verses 40 to 43 inshallah. We'll see if we can finish them inshallah. Start with the reciting the ayat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وجزاء سيئة سيئة مثلها فمن عفا وأصلح فأجره على الله إنه لا يحب الظالمين ولمن انتصر بعد ظلمه فأولئك ما عليهم من سبيل إنما السبيل على الذين يظلمون الناس ويبغون في الأرض بغير الحق أولئك لهم عذاب أليم ولمن صبر وغفر إن ذلك لمن عزم الأمور. The first ayah, the translation of the first one, and the retribution for an evil act is an evil one like it. But whoever pardons and makes reconciliation, his reward is due from Allah. Indeed, he does not like wrongdoers. Now, this ayat we'll talk about, as he when mentioned in the Tafseer, the maratib of al-uqubat. Some verses in the Quran, it's important to, all of the Quran needs to be remembered, of course, but some verses has titles. They are foundation in a certain subject. So these four verses shows the levels of punishments, the level of punishments or retribution. And previously, the ayat before that talked about those who do acts of aggression. And one of the characteristics of the believers that they forgive. وَإِذَا مَا غَضِبُوا هُمْ يَغْفِرُونَ. If they are made angry, someone made them angry, even if it's the wrongdoer from the other side, but for the believers, they're commanded to forgive, to pardon, and especially that this brings all kinds of benefit as a result of that. So after all of that is mentioned and the qualities of what's goodness and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from the believers, then it shows here the different levels where a person, when can a person ask for justice versus when is it recommended to forgive and to let go. And there's no such a thing as the religion would call upon the people to forgive in the absolute sense. That means the criminals would love that, would love to do acts of aggression against those who want to always be rewarded. So do whatever you want to do of evil because they'll forgive you. That's not islah. This is spreading corruption on the face of earth. So to have this knowledge is a very important part of knowledge, and it requires ilm and tawfiq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this ayat gives these meanings. So we'll go through it inshallah ta'ala briefly. The first one, وَجَزَاءُ سَيِّئَةٍ سَيِّئَةٌ مِثْلُهَا. He says here, Imam Sa'di rahimahullah, ذكر الله في هذه الآية مراتب العقوبات. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in this ayah the levels of عقوبات. عقوبات is the plural of عقوبة. عقوبة is the punishment, retribution. And that's why the rewards and the punishments are all from the wahy from Allah. The creator of the heavens and the earth, he's the one that has the right to determine what punishments in this life and in the hereafter. He's the owner of all things. And this is based on the wisdom of Allah, the justice of Allah, even the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these levels, وَأَنَّ عَلَى ثَلَاثِ مَرَاتِبٍ. There are three levels, one after the other. عَدْلٌ وَفَضْلٌ وَظُلْمٌ. Adl is justice. Fadl is the virtue, a higher level. وَظُلْم, which is the evil one, which is the injustice. when someone do act of injustice. This is how people, every punishment on the face of earth that people do if they have authority, or a parent with their child, or a teacher, or anything that happens in this life, you can put them in one of these three categories. Whether the people are treated with justice or the virtue, the fadl. They deserve to be punished, but it will be let go. Or al-dhulm. They're treated with injustice. Those who punish, they punish with injustice. So then the details of that is the entire deen of Allah. And it requires, as we said, knowledge. فمرتبة العدل, the level of justice, جزاء السيئة بسيئة مثلها. The recompense or the punishment or the retribution of السيئة. السيئة is evil act from the doer. The retaliation here or the punishment is not evil. This is a good thing. It's justice. But the word sayya is mentioned in opposition to it because it's to show that this is from the exact same action that the person did. Someone cut off the hand of someone else, for example. So the law of retribution is, of course, with eliminating all kinds of circumstances and mistakes and all these types of things. Someone did it intentionally, planned for it, has all the means to achieve this. I'm just saying for the sake of understanding the example. Then the law of justice here is not to imprison this guy for a couple of years and then he leaves, and then the first one, he lives for the rest of his life with his hand cut off. That's not justice. Justice is that he receives the same equal punishment. And this is not evil, this is justice. So this is جزاء السيئة بسيئة مثلها لا زيادة ولا نقص. No increase and no decrease. And the punishments, it's by the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is not left to the individuals. Otherwise it becomes chaos. Anybody can claim that they have been wronged against, so let me take justice in my own hands. That's not permissible. So even if justice is not served, he cannot take matters on his own hand. This is those who are addressed by this are the people of authority. And if they don't apply it, then the masses are to abstain. Why? Not because they're afraid or anything. It's because the evil consequences as a result of people treating others, especially with matters of that governs the life of the people. So جزاء السيئة بسيئة مثلها, and also for the individual to ask when to ask for justice. If you want to ask for justice, this is the maximum that a person can ask for. لا زيادة ولا نقص. No increase and no decrease. فالنفس بالنفس. The nafs is the being, the human being. That means if someone killed someone, again, this is not by mistake, this is premeditated, with all the different means and terminologies there. So, النفس بالنفس. This is from the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that someone killed someone, then their punishment by the justice is for them to be killed. وكل جارحة بالجارحة المماثلة له. الجارحة is the physical parts of the body. جارحة. So hand with a hand, foot with a foot, eye for an eye. This is justice. المماثلة لها, the one that is equal to it. والمال يضمن بمثله. And also the money, wealth, يضمن is guaranteed by the like of it. So someone stole 1,000 is to be taken from him 1,000, not more. Someone took something without the right to do so, then it's to be given the equal amount of money. What if it's died, like he took an animal, for example, then what it's equal to it, and the judge will make this judgment. But this is the justice, and which is the law that everybody can understand and can relate to. But the beauty of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is unique in the deen of Allah, in the shara of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is that it allows for martabatul fadl. How the laws is, what's the proper word for it, but it's usually state owned, right? So if someone killed someone, then it's according to the law of the land, whatever they would do with him. The family of the deceased has nothing to do with it. No, in the deen of Islam, no. This is the level of justice, and the judge will give the ruling if this is what the justice is. But then those who are responsible, they have a chance to forgive. They're given a chance to pardon. So this is مرتبة الفضل. So مرتبة الفضل is العفو والإصلاح عن المسيء. To pardon and to rectify the matter from the مسيء, from the one that did evil and did wrong. ولهذا قال, and that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَمَنْ عَفَى وَأَصْلَحَ فَأَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ. Whoever pardons and as a result of that brings goodness, not brings evil, فَأَجْرُهُ عَلى اللَّهِ, his rewards is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يَجْزِيهِ أَجْرًا عَظِيمًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give him great rewards from him subhanahu wa ta'ala. And فَأَجْرُهُ عَلى اللَّهِ, no limits, not hasana by multiplied by 10, or no, there's no limits of the rewards to show how great of an action that is to forgive and to pardon, because it's against one's greed and one's nafs. Everyone wants justice, but only very few people that would take themselves above that, and they want what is best, not what is satisfy their own greed, even though this is their right. And no one is to be blamed if they asked for justice. But they're always called to take themselves to a high level, especially if there's benefit. If there is benefit that comes out of this. He says, وَشَرَطَ اللَّهُ فِي الْعَفْوِ الْإِصْلَاحِ. That's, he made subhanahu wa ta'ala a condition for pardoning is al-islah, al-islahu fi, for it to be rectified, for the city, for the circumstances, for the whole thing, to bring a matter of goodness, a benefit, not harm. ليدل ذلك على أنه إذا كان الجاني لا يليق بالعفو عنه, which is an evidence that al-jani is the aggressor, the one that made the jinaya. Al-jinaya is the harm that he afflicted upon someone else. So if al-jani لا يليق بالعفو به, it does not befit him to be pardoned. He's not someone to be pardoned, because it's not going to change him. It's going to make him more evil. So على أنه إذا كان الجاني لا يليق بالعفو به وكانت المصلحة الشرعية, and the religious maslaha, the benefit here is تقتضي عقوبته, would bring by necessity his punishment. The punishment is a necessary measure here to bring what is good, because not every time pardoning or forgiveness brings what is good. So that's why this is a level of knowledge and wisdom that depends on the judgment and the circumstances and so on. So if the uquba, if the punishment is what is best, then this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with. فإنه في هذه الحال لا يكون مأمورا به. In this case, al-fadl, or the forgiveness, it's not something that a person is commanded to be upon, even in a state of being virtue, because he's going to bring more evil. وفي جعل أجر العافي على الله مما يهيج على العفو. Since the ajr, the reward, is mentioned in the ayah, that it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this causes what to the one that wants to forgive? Yuhayyij, stir up this feeling inside of him, even though he is hurt, he wants justice. But when he hears the ayah, فَمَنْ عَفَى وَأَصْلَحَ فَأَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ, so the believer, what it stirs in his heart, that he wants to forgive, seeking rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. مما يهيج العفو وأن يعامل العبد الخلق بما يحب أن يعامله الله به. And that the person, this is part of our deen, this is part of what's supposed to be rooted in the heart of the believers, because it's part of one's iman. What is it? That the person would يعامل العبد الخلق, that the abd, that the person would treat al-khalq, the creation of Allah, the people, بما يحب أن يعامله الله به. He would treat them the way that he would love Allah to treat him with. So if he wants Allah to pardon him, then pardon people. If you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you, forgive the people. Right? So everybody wants the forgiveness from Allah. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala treat us with justice only, everybody will be in hellfire. So would you want to be treated with the justice of Allah, or to be treated by the mercy of Allah? By the mercy of Allah. So treat people the same way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most wise. Some people, they will deserve to be in the hellfire. So the punishment becomes the exception for the individual, for the believer. The exception is justice. Not the exception is the fadl. You know, if you would leave it to the human being, everybody will talk about justice like this. No, for the believers, the norm is that they want to forgive. This is what should be present in their hearts. They should be, and also from the previous verses, one of their characteristics, that they want to forgive. So they're raised to be upon this. Al-Iman would necessitates in their hearts that they want Allah to forgive them, so they are ready to forgive people. So therefore, if they want to ask for justice, since this is the exception, they have to be very good at it, right? They have to be extremely good of making sure that it's only justice, because one small amount of what's beyond justice becomes injustice. Then the person started to be in the initial stage, he is oppressed, he's wronged against, but when he asks for justice, he end up being zalim himself. He end up being wrongdoer himself because he exceeded the level of justice, because it's a fine line. That's why, as mentioned before, and as they always say, إذا لم تحسن العدل, if you're not able to have justice, whether it's because you don't have the means, you're oppressed, right? Or you have the means, but you're scared that you're going to go beyond justice. You're going to fall into injustice. So then what? فَفِي الْفَضْلِ مُتَّسَعٌ. You have in the fadl, in the forgiveness, spaciousness. It's spacious for you. If you make a mistake in the fadl, if you make a mistake in forgiving someone, it's much, much easier than to make a mistake in treating one with justice and you fall into dhulm, injustice. No excuse in the second one. But you can be excused if I didn't know, I forgave him, and it was a mistake that you forgave him. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most forgiver. You're excused here. But if you say, I want justice, I want my right, hand by hand, this and that, but you go beyond it by even the smallest thing, then there's no excuse. Because you know that you're not able to fulfill justice the right way. There are many, of course, cases to make the matter very clear. Someone said a bad word to someone else, so he beat him up or punched him in the face. That's dhulm, that's injustice. This is not equal retaliation, right? You might not do this, but if you say that to someone and they get angry for you, so they go do acts of injustice, you're responsible for it. So anyway, he says here, وفي جعل أجر العافي على الله مما يهيج على العفو وأن يعامل العبد الخلق بما يحب أن يعامله الله به. And the hadith من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. None of you shall believe till he love for his brother what he love for himself. And loving for others what he love for himself, this is what it means. That a person love for himself that Allah forgive him. So he would forgive people. So then he says, فَكَمَا يُحِبُّ أَنْ يَعْفُوَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُ, as he loved for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to pardon him, فَلْيَعْفُ عَنْهُمْ, let him pardon them and forgive them. وَكَمَا يُحِبُّ أَنْ يُسَامِحَهُ اللَّهُ, and as he loved for Allah to يُسَامِحُ. المسامحة is another word of al-'afw, or pardoning, but to be at ease. Not that you forgive and you still have tightness inside. And musamaha is that you forgive and you're at ease with it because you want the rewards from Allah, so you're looking down upon these silly matters. And yusamihahu Allah falyusamihhum. Be samh. That means forgive and pardon, and don't remind them of your favor. Be at ease with it, be having that spaciousness in the heart. So as a result of that, فَإِنَّ الْجَزَاءَ مِنْ جِنْسِ الْعَمَلِ, because the reward is from the same sort of deed that a person do. And usually these types of actions that require so much sacrifice, the reward is in this life and in the hereafter. It's a lot of sacrifice for a person. He has to overcome his own greed, and all the means are there, easy for him to ask for justice, but he forgives. And this, if it's towards the enemy, right? Imagine that if the matter is towards a loved one or a relative. It's supposed to be an obvious one. When you find people with the closest ones to them, no, they don't want to forgive. They want justice. If the ayat here is talking about the entire world, the closest ones to the person should be treated with a different manner as an initial stage for dealing with them. So وَجَزَاءُ سَيِّئَةٍ سَيِّئَةٌ مِثْلُهَا فَمَنْ عَافَى وَأَصْلَحَ فَأَجْرُوهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ. His reward is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the islah. إِنَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الظَّالِمِينَ. This is the third level, which is al-dhulm. That indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not love al-zalimin. وَأَمَّا مَرْتَبَةُ الظُّلْمِ فَقَدْ ذَكَرَهَا بِقَوْلِ إِنَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الظَّالِمِينَ. This is the third level. الَّذِينَ, who are the ظالمين? الَّذِينَ يَجْنُونَ عَلَى غَيْرِهِمْ ابْتِدَاءً. Those who يجنون. Al-jinaya is the crime. Al-jani is the criminal. يجنون, this is the present tense of the same thing. Those who do act of criminal acts upon their على غيرهم ابتداء, upon others. ابتداء means they're the one that initiated the aggression. أو يقابلون الجاني بأكثر من جنايته, or they oppose the jani, the criminal, with something that is more than his crime. فالزيادة ظلم. الزيادة, the increase, is ظلم. Most of the people, they look at the first part only. Who's the criminal? The one that initiated the crime. But this is only half of the criminals on the face of earth. Because the other half of criminals are those who would ask for justice, but they do more than justice. So this is a very serious matter with regards to al-dhulm. So al-dhalimun are those who initiate the crime and those who would retaliate thinking that they're asking for justice, but they do ziyada, they do increase. And it doesn't matter whether it's the person or the lawyer get you to get something more than what you deserve, it doesn't matter. Anything that is increase is dhulm. And a person has to, then in that case, he might not have any chance but to forgive. Right? If, say, for example, if the system would not get you, would get you more than what you deserve. Instead of you get 1,000 because 1,000 was taken away from you, they will give you 1,000,000. You don't deserve the 1,000,000. You can say, I'll give it back to him or whatever. If I'm just making up an example, right? It's not a fatwa or anything. So if a person this is going to happen to him, then it's a must that he has to forgive. Because if he does not forgive, and they will give him a choice, right? Because if he does not forgive, he will end up being zalim himself. So therefore he has to be patient so that he does not do an act of aggression himself. And this is part of the test of this life. And the part of the test is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests people with others and whether they're going to treat them with justice or they would retaliate in an unjust way. And this issue of indiscriminately punishing people or these types of things is dhulm is forbidden at all levels. With the worst human being on the face of earth, it's haram for a Muslim to treat them with injustice. If someone that is the worst human being ever, if he's brought to justice, then he is to be treated with justice, not to retaliate with injustice, because of dhulm haram. This is one of the things. There's no exceptions to it in the deen of Islam, not even in darura. Some things, the haram can be halal if it's a necessity. If it's a necessity, a person is about to die and the only food that he has is pork. This is what the only thing to save his life. Then this haram becomes halal to what necessitate for him to sustain his life, not beyond that. But for a dhulm, no. If someone to save his life, to commit injustice, the answer is, that's the qadar of Allah that you have to die. What can we do? But it's not halal, it's not permissible to commit injustice. A person, either he will be killed or he kills someone else. If he doesn't kill someone, he will be killed. What's the ruling here? Is it permissible for him to kill someone, put a gun on someone's head? It says, either you shoot that individual in front of you or I'll shoot you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. What that person should do, shoot me. What can I do? He won't say shoot me. He should not say that. He should say, I'm not going to shoot anyone. I'm not going to kill anyone. It's haram for him to do that. So if it end up being that he's killed, inshallah, he's a martyr. Life is not meant for itself. It's about the hereafter. Why? To show the evidence here, there is no exception whatsoever when it comes to dhulm. يا عبادي إني حرمت الظلم على نفسي وجعلت بينكم محرما فلا تظالموا. The hadith Qudsi. Oh my ibad, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I forbade dhulm upon myself and it's forbidden among you. So do not wrong one another. And that's why al-dhulm is dhulumat yawm al-qiyam. Darknesses in the day of judgment. And if the most successful person on the face of earth is the one that when he dies, there is no dhulm on him. He did not do act of dhulm, wrongdoing whatsoever, even with a word of mouth. Because the dhulm is one of the very difficult things to be forgiven in the day of judgment if it involves other human beings. Human beings are greedy, they won't forgive in the day of judgment. So for a person to be, and this is one of the ways also to comfort the madloom, to comfort the oppressor one, the one that is being wronged against. Would you rather be mazloom or zalim? You would rather to be safe from both, of course. But if it's a choice of one or the other, be mazloom and not to be zalim. Be the one that is wronged against, but never to be the one that wrong others. Because this is in many situations, a person would have a way and people would justify that for themselves. And they say that when you're pressured so much, that causes for people to explode. This is not a justified principle. This is man-made silliness. This is not the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you're pressured so much, right, this is, yeah, you have other things, you might explode within inside of yourself, but you don't treat people with injustice because they're pressuring you so much. This is haram, this is forbidden. So that's why understanding these maratib of al-uquba, again, the spaciousness and the fadl and the forgiveness. And if a person asks for justice, then he has to be good at it. He has to know exactly what it means and has the means to do it. You might know what justice is, but you don't have the means to implement it. Then it's not permissible to do it. Then in this case, a person would have to forgive. We'll stop here, inshallah ta'ala. Then we'll continue next time. So these are the three maratib mentioned in one ayah. وجزاء سيئة سيئة مثلها, this is مثلها, this is justice. فمن عفا وأصلح فأجره على الله, it's a higher level. With islah, with goodness, this is al-fadl, this is forgiveness, this is the characteristics of the believers, and this is what is best for them if it's with islah. The third one, which is haram, إنه لا يحب الظالمين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not love al-zalimin, and it's not associated with anything. Al-zalimin in any level, in any case, even with ones that would forgive you, even with anything. Al-dhulm is muharram. And that's why sins is dhulm. To even have dhulm against oneself when a person disobeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us and to purify our hearts from falling into injustice or to commit any injustice against others, and to help us and to guide us to repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from all sins. صلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم ربنا وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك.